Oh, I forgot to do things I normally do. This is what happens. This is what happens when this is TWIS. This Week in Science episode number 531, recorded on Wednesday, September 9th, 2015, in a galaxy from long ago and far away. Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and this Week in Science. Today we are going to fill your head with froggy sex changes, distant galaxies, and monkey brains. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The world of man is a world of bias, be it racial, gender, political, body type, age, height, birth, nation, or religious affiliation, bias abounds. And as the new NFL season approaches, it's peak bias season for the world of football. And in football, we can see clearly the bias of hope that comes with rooting for the home team. 32 teams begin to do battle this week. Each will play 16 games in their attempt to be the best. No matter how well one team does or how poorly another performs, the league average will be 8 wins and 8 losses. The Tier 2 won't change that much. It's just how math works, and the NFL is no exception. And yet, collective polling across the sport found home team fans predicting an average of nearly 10 wins per team. Journalists assigned to certain teams fared a little better at about 9 wins per team. Either way, the sports fans and experts are bound to be at least a little disappointed on average. But in science, we seek to find answers unbiased by man. The scientific method is designed to allow us to see the world simply as it is, as complicated as that can get. In labs around the world, results are only as good as their methods, and methods are only as good as their execution. In science, it's the system, not the team or individual players that matter. That is, until game day. When research results light up the Twisatron, fans will go wild, and a cheerleader starts a chant of This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I wanna learn everything. I wanna fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I wanna know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Science to Kirsten and Blair.
Ahoy! Good science to you, Justin Blair, and everyone out there. This is This Week in Science, yet again here to drop mad science on you. That's right. That's what we're going to do. Well, it's maybe not mad science. It's just pretty cool science, actually. Not mad at all. Pretty logical, rational, not crazy in the least.
Oh, I've got some crazy stories. I've got some crazy stuff.
Okay, awesome. Well,
I brought both.
My stories, they're not so crazy, but maybe they are crazy. Hubble visions. I've got Hubble visions, magnetic wormholes, and brains. What do you have, Justin?
Oh, gosh, I did bring stories. What did I bring? I've got gold sponges, metal-eating microbes, empty C-section seats, and how climate change deniers reproduce.
Wow.
Can't wait for that one.
Oh, yeah. Zinger. Blair, what did you bring? Where's the Animal Corner going to bring us?
I brought not one, but 2 stories about frog sex. I also brought something from the Fathoms Below, and I brought some really awesome ladies from Africa.
Really awesome ladies from Africa. Okay, sweet. We are looking forward to all of this. Let's get this party started with some science from way, way out. I mean, far out, man. And I'm not talking about Timothy Leary's ashes being dumped at Burning Man. I'm talking about far outer space. Like the distant reaches of space, like so distant that it's like first light kind of stuff. People took information from that was gathered by the Hubble Space Telescope when it collected light for over 10 years for its deep sky or deep space survey, and they looked at near infrared and optical light to be able to get this information. But what they were able to do is take a picture, look at just the sky on its own, and then they stripped out information related to the stars between the galaxies. So there are these stars. When you think of galaxies shining past, moving past one another, sometimes stars get pulled because of gravitational forces between one galaxy and another. They get pulled away from one. They're just kind of on the edges, so they rip out away from the galaxies and kind of into that interstellar space. And so at the beginning of our universe, 500 million years after the Big Bang, there was just a lot of coalescing of stuff happening. And so it'll take a look at the actual first galaxies themselves, those oldest galaxies in our universe. What they did is they took away that infrared light that could be isolated from those stars that were just in between the galaxies. And then, if you're looking at the screen right now, there's a red, the sky, which is blue and white, and then which is the stars and the galaxies that we currently see, which you would recognize from any image from the Hubble Deep Sky Survey. And then there's another image that looks kind of like this sponge of blue with lighter blue colors in it and black holes within those. And so the blue light is the light that they took out from those stars. And then the final color image, this false color image, is basically the light that's left, the light from the very first galaxies in our universe. And it looks kind of like a soup because it's so far out and so far away, and things were so dense at that time. There's so much mass and matter, and it hadn't really, I guess, isolated itself. Things hadn't started spreading out the way that they have now. So it's just this beautiful image from these stars torn from their galaxies that allows us to be actually able to see this signature of the first galaxies that were formed in our universe. 500 million years after the Big Bang. No big deal, people. No big deal.
Oh, yeah, no big deal. That's like way far out, man.
Way far out. No, just the way that they did this is fascinating work. It measured there's a project called an instrument called the Cyber instrument, which is from the California Institute of Technology, and they measured the infrared background at 2 wavelengths, 1.1 and 1.6 microns, and these led them to be able to confirm the existence of this intrahalo light, which is what they're calling the light from these stars that were ripped from the other galaxies. And then they used another research project called the Cosmic Assembly Near Infrared Deep Extragalactic Legacy Survey, called CANDLES for short. And it allowed them to be able to look at the data in a way that got them to be able to parse between the starlight and the galaxy light. And so they were able to actually be able to figure out this infrared intrahalo light and be able to get the optical light from these galaxies. So one of the researchers says for the research they looked closely at what they call empty pixels, the pixels between galaxies and stars, and they can separate noise from the faint signal associated with first galaxies by looking at the variations in the intensity from one pixel to another. So they're looking at this high resolution image, and they're looking at the level of pixels and the difference in the intensity of the light between the pixels. And he says they pick out a statistical signal that says there's a population of faint objects. We do not see that signal in the optical wavelengths, only in infrared. And this is a confirmation that the signal is from early times in the universe. just so neat, just the way that the logic that scientists use to be able to get what they want from the information that they have. It's just fascinating. And then another study, speaking of interesting information from data at hand, researchers that were from the University of Texas at Austin and the University of Toronto looked at nearly 1,000 protein complexes shared by most kinds of animals and discovered their assembly instructions. So basically how these proteins, 1,000 protein complexes, assemble and interact with each other. It's published in Nature this week, and they're basically identifying this massive number of molecular machines that because they spread across these assemblies are common and shared by most animals. That means that they're critical for development and survival of like worms, mice, people. Just name an animal, and it'll probably have these proteins involved in the way that they assemble together will be shared.
Like an albatross? They'd have it?
Yes, an albatross has it. There
How
you go.
about an anaconda?
Yes, an anaconda.
Okay.
Would have
That's
it
just
too.
the A's, so I'll stop it there.
Yes. And so the researchers say by understanding how the protein complexes come together across very different organisms, we can find relevancies to humans and human health. So how are diseased proteins not assembling correctly? How are they assembled in different species? How do these different things work? And they were able to do this by using high throughput mass spectrometry, and they collected data on cellular proteins of 9 species across the animal kingdom: worms, flies, mice, humans, sea urchins, sea anemones, frogs, slime mold, and baker's yeast.
Gotta love slime mold.
Gotta love it. I particularly, though, love baker's yeast.
Yeah, that too. It's kind of important.
Baker's yeast is great.
Mm-hmm.
I love bread.
Bread.
So it almost indicates that all living life forms are in some way related to each other.
No.
Like this was
Never.
like we share so many of these common structures of
But we know that's not true.
Oh, that can't be. I mean, why would that be possible?
Yeah, and this allows them to, and this allows because we have now 1,000. There was another study in 2012 that had just looked at human protein complexes, but because now this is looking at not all these different species across the animal kingdom, it allows a much greater scale of complexity and understanding of interactions where researchers are suggesting now that it's going to allow them to predict with confidence more than 1 million protein interactions. Which is that's starting to explain how things work. That's starting to get to a scale where you can go, oh yeah, we got this. Yeah, we totally can get this. We can totally predict how this works. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome for science. And then my final intro story, wormholes. Wormholes are awesome. Researchers made a wormhole.
Dun dun dun! Connecting their lab to a distant solar system far away.
No, nothing like that. So, we talk about wormholes, and it's gravitational wormholes. And gravitational wormholes, that takes a lot of gravity, and we would have to know how to control that, and we don't even know how gravity really works yet. So
there's that. Small detail.
Yeah. Small detail. So what I'm talking about is a magnetic wormhole that's not really a wormhole at all, but just kind of an interesting device that it's kind of analogous in the way that it works to a wormhole, but not really.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, this pretty cool device. This pretty cool device it has been made where they use superconducting materials and magnetic materials, and then they put a tube through the middle that conducts magnetism through the middle, and it's like a tube. You can see through, like a tube. And what happens is the way that the superconductor and all this stuff, the shielding basically works. We're talking pretty much about a metamaterial here. The way that the shielding works is it hides the magnetic field conductance along the tube through the center of the device. And so you can detect the magnetic field lines that come out of either end. So it creates two monopoles that could be detected. But the actual magnetic field that connects those two monopoles cannot be detected. So in essence, it's like a wormhole, but not really.
But we're closer. You can almost make a wormhole.
No, not really. So researchers talking about the how, like, why would you make this, and what are you doing? And basically, you've created something magnetically undetectable from the exterior, and it makes it look in the space-time continuum, because you can't detect it magnetically, as if the inner region has been erased. And the reason that they would want to try and build this is that now it's, one, a good proof of principle that they could do it. And another possible use is that it could be used whenever you want to shield magnetic fields from detection. So could you use them in an MRI, for example, if people are uncomfortable or want to be distanced from the actual magnetic detector in some way? You could put the person maybe at one end of the detector or somewhere in the chain so that it wouldn't actually be in the magnet necessarily.
Intriguing.
Another idea is that it could be
not
used.
Not quite as intriguing as traveling to another solar system, but still intriguing.
That's still intriguing. And the other idea is
Further away
that
from the magnet.
that maybe you could MRI image different parts of the body at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So maybe you could see coincident activation occurring, possibly. But anyway, if anybody has been reading about this wormhole story and got excited about a headline or something,
just here to burst your bubble.
That's what I'm here for. There you go. And this is This Week in Science. Hey, Justin, what you got?
I got gold. Shiny, heavy, valuable, malleable metal born in a supernovae. Gives us fevers, causes rushes. We dig for it. We pan for it. We go for it. Some folks have hearts made of the stuff. And as good as gold is, the golden age of gold may have just begun, thanks to alchemists at UC Davis Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, transforming the aforementioned metal into a sponge-like nanoporous gold that could be key to new devices to detect disease-causing agents in humans and plants. Two recent papers in analytical chemistry, group of UC Davis researchers demonstrated that they could detect nucleic acids using nanoporous gold as a sensor coating material. This method enables sensitive detection of DNA in complex biological samples, such as serum from whole blood. I guess the other forms of these sensors tend to get mucked up and can't detect the nucleic acids. Nanoporous gold, Cody Voice, can be imagined as a porous metal sponge with pore sizes that are 1,000 times smaller than the diameter of a human hair, said Erkin Seeker, assistant professor of electrical and computer engineering at UC Davis and senior author on the papers. What happens is the debris in the biological samples, such as proteins, is too large to go through those pores. But the fiber-like nucleic acids that we want to detect can actually fit through them. It's almost like a natural sieve, he says. Although I guess it's not very natural. Rapid and sensitive detection of nucleic acids plays a crucial role in the early identification of pathogenic microbes and disease biomarkers. Current sensor approaches usually require nucleic acid purification that relies on multiple steps, specialized laboratory equipment, also limits sensors' use in the field. The researchers' method reduces the need for purification, thereby allowing faster, cheaper, more mobile analysis. Researchers hope the technology can be translated into the development of miniature point-of-care diagnostic platforms for agriculture and clinical applications. The applications of this sensor are quite broad, ranging from detection of plant pathogens to disease biomarkers, says Seeker. For example, in agriculture, scientists could detect whether certain pathogen exists in a plant without seeing any symptoms, and in sepsis cases in humans, doctors might determine bacterial contamination much more quickly than at present, preventing misdiagnosis and unnecessary treatments. I'm going to mute my mic as there's a spider crawling right around the mouthpiece. I've been trying to make it through that study without smashing the
microphone. That's hilarious. Oh dear. Ah! Spiders. There's spiders attacking us.
That was challenging.
The question that somebody brought up in the chat room, Whiskey Renegade, saying, well, that's going to be expensive, right? Gold nanoparticles, like, this is a great idea, but I guess in the long run, they're so tiny. I know they're nanoparticles.
It can't be that expensive.
Yeah, so it's
used for jewelry for show, but
yeah, it's much less than you would have in a wedding ring, for instance, and is reusable. So there you go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, the reusable aspect that's a definite plus, because if you can reuse stuff, then that means that also reduces the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, self-recycling. I like that.
So I'm going to go from that right into another metal-eating-ish type story.
All right.
This is an isolated iron-rich bay at the heart of East Africa. It's offering scientists a rare glimpse back into Earth's primitive marine environment, and is supporting theories that existed that tiny microbes created some of the world's largest ore deposits billions of years ago. According to the University of British Columbia, research published this week in Scientific Reports, 30% of the microbes in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Kabuno Bay grow by a type of photosynthesis that oxidizes iron rather than converting water into oxygen like regular plants and algae might. So they're basically rusting iron as their photosynthesis. Kabuno Bay is a time machine back into the Earth's early history when iron-rich ocean chemistry prevailed, says Mark Liros of the University of Namur, first author of the paper. The bay is giving us real-world insight into how ancient varieties of photosynthesis may have supported Earth's early life prior to the evolution of oxygen-producing photosynthesis that supports life today. So it says Sean Crow, senior author on the study. That's pretty wild, right? So what they're talking about here is before photosynthesis, there was photosynthesis, but with microbes and metal, right?
Well, it was more,
no plants.
Photosynthesis, microbial photosynthesis, exactly. But it was more like a photochemosynthesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So while iron-respiring bacteria were discovered back in 1993, New Scientific Report study provides evidence that microorganisms could have been directly involved in depositing the Earth's oldest iron formations. But 2.3 billion years ago, a little while ago, there was little oxygen in the atmosphere, but plenty of dissolved iron. Many organisms, like bacteria, derived energy by metabolizing the metal. Many researchers believe iron metabolizing microbes might have turned plentiful dissolved irons into minerals, which then settled out of seawater, deposited along the ocean floor. So this bay that they found is supporting that theory is completely plausible. The microbes metabolize iron and grow at rates high enough to indicate their ancient equivalents were capable of depositing some of the world's largest sedimentary iron ore deposits, known as banded iron formations. By oxidizing iron, these microorganisms likely helped shape the chemistry of the Earth over billions of years, ultimately leading to the evolution of more complex life such as plants and animals.
Right, that if they hadn't set the base with the way that they were photoproducing and creating more oxygen and iron, that it never, that things never would have happened the way
It
that
is
they
truly
did.
all about that base.
It's all about that base. It is. Oh dear. Do you know what time it is?
What time?
I believe I do. I believe I do.
It's time for something that we do regularly on this show.
Is it time for
Blair's Animal Corner.
Animal Corner? That's what I was going to say. I was kind of afraid. Maybe I was wrong this week, but
Small creature, great and small. 5 pet, millipede, no pet at all. You want to hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels.
All right, guys, let's talk about frog sex. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, so frogs, different frogs have different ways of picking mates. Well, looking at Tungara frogs from Central America, they're actually found everywhere in Central America. They're found in forests, they're found in ditches, they're found in parking lot puddles. They're very abundant. They're only about 2 centimeters long, so they're pretty tiny frogs. But they're super loud. And the males make calls to woo females, which is the case with most frogs that we think about. That's why they're making the calls, is to bring in the females. And so the females have to decide who they want to mate with based on their call. And so biologists from the University of Texas, they wanted to figure out exactly what was appealing about these calls, what they were picking. And the things that they know that the frogs like, the female frogs, they like long calls, they like low frequency calls, and then they also like call rate. They like a fast call rate. So just kind of quick, chip, 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 but of course low and long. So
Wait, how do you get chirpy?
It's about duration. So the chirping is quicker, but the duration of the chirp is like the how many chirps is longer.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
Right. So they wanted to see which element of the call was most important, what they would prioritize over the other elements of the call. And so what they did is they put female frogs in a room with loudspeakers. From one speaker, they played a recording of a frog that had a really fast call rate, but other features of his voice were less attractive. They were less long, they were less low. Then the researchers played a second different call. This voice was more attractive, but it didn't have as fast of a call rate. It was slower. So they had to decide which part was important. They picked the fast call rate. They crawled towards the speaker where the guy was making the chirps quickly, even though his voice was less attractive. So this is where things get complicated. First, they just wanted to figure out what about the call was attractive. Now they wanted to figure out how their little froggy brains worked when they were making their decision. So they added a third option. They added a frog with a voice that was as attractive as the previously rejected option, but it was slower, way slower.
It's like, well, is that what the women really like?
So
is that what they're after?
So what they did is they knew call rate was important and that faster was better. So they have a fast call rate call that is not attractive. They have a slower call rate that with an attractive voice. And then they have an equally as attractive voice that is even slower.
Should we listen to these calls?
Sure, go ahead.
There was a sound.
Yeah, we have one on there, I think. There you go. Sexy. So
Super sexy frogs.
So they didn't pick the third added option because he was even slower than the loser from last time. So they didn't expect him to win. He had the equal amount of attractiveness but was slower. They didn't pick him, but when he was around, the fast guy that always won, he lost. Females picked the middle option.
Interesting.
Now, call rate, not the most important element of the call. The only way that the researchers could describe this is with something that has been researched mostly in humans called the decoy effect. You guys heard of the decoy effect before? It's kind of hard to explain, but basically...
Oh, I got it. It's Ugly Wingman.
Yeah, it kind of is. You're kind of right. So, yeah, so imagine you have, let's pick somebody that is universally very attractive. Let's say Hugh Jackman. Does that work for everyone?
Sure.
Hugh Jackman?
I don't know why we had to leave the show, but okay, sure.
He's in the bar. Then, would you concede, Justin, that you are not as attractive as Hugh Jackman? Would you concede that?
I may chirp faster and longer though.
Okay, so you're in the bar. You're in the bar. Then someone who
I'm the Ugly Wingman.
And then there's Steve Buscemi. And there's Steve Buscemi.
Yes. Then there's Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, bring Steve Buscemi.
Right.
That makes me middle ground.
So before, with you and Hugh Jackman in the bar, Hugh Jackman always won. But now that we
got another
Steve Buscemi to the mix, you're winning.
Now I'm the because that one might be too unattainable. Everybody's going to be hounding Hugh. Oh my gosh. So then that guy. Oh, we could get stuck with. You know what? Don't go for take the middle option. You're more likely to have success. And
so
there's less.
A similar, another analogy that really helped me figure this out is if you're shopping in a store and there is two options of something. Let's say there's the bottle of Coke that is a half a liter and it's $2. And then there's the liter of Coke and that's $3. The liter of Coke that's $3 is the better value, and so you would usually go for that. But then if you added in a little quart-sized bottle that was $2.15, you would be more likely to pick the half liter because you're noticing, well, I'm not going to go for that option because it's more expensive for less.
Right.
So I'll go for this middle option. So this is something that they actually do in stores. They introduce a product that they know is inferior or that the price point is inferior to drive up sales of the middle choice, which is very interesting. So the whole reason this is very interesting with the frogs is that this is the first time the decoy effect has been seen in mate choice, which is pretty intense because if you think about it, mate choice is everything. Mate choice is, it depends, it indicates what's going to happen to your DNA.
Yeah.
So you would think you would always pick the best possible DNA for you to combine with your DNA every single time, no matter what. Well, the decoy effect even has an effect on that.
Oh, yeah.
It's been shown in people, too. There is an effect where if you have a group of friends of differing attractiveness, that people find everyone, when they're together, they are judged as equally attractive. Whereas if they are individual, they are judged individually. So a highly attractive person becomes less attractive, and a less attractive person becomes more attractive in these studies, as everyone is kind of brought to the middle. Our brains look at the faces and kind of mush it all together and go, oh, the group is attractive in this middle level.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it very interesting. And there were a few interesting comments actually on this article where people were saying, well, this makes nothing but sense because you don't want to trade off for one element that's better than others if you have somebody that's middle ground for everything.
Yep.
Which makes sense. I'm on board with that. But so this is just, it's very interesting to see that, first of all, there's so much complex stuff going on with these frogs, but then on top of that, that they can be confused in their choice by doing that. And so it also makes me think back on other studies that have been done in the past, because we do studies on mate choice, and usually we have a binary system. Which one do you pick? But maybe in the wild, it's more complex than that, and that there's all these other factors that we're not seeing because we weren't even putting things like the decoy effect into consideration when we did it.
Yep.
It's interesting. So,
Very
and then
good. Interesting point.
Speaking of frog sex.
More of it. Let's have more. Please.
Not the act, but the identity.
Okay.
Gender. We've talked before about the feminization of animals, and particularly frogs are something that have been focused on a lot with feminization, which is when there's more females showing up in a community than males because of pesticides, wastewater that has hormones in it, all sorts of things that can affect these frogs. And in most cases, it's been in industrial areas, agricultural areas. In Connecticut, a new study out of Yale shows estrogen in suburban yards changing the ratio of male and female green frogs at nearby ponds. So this thing is way more widespread than we realized. We thought it was really just these intense amounts going into the ground from pesticides in agricultural situations and wastewater from industrial plants and wastewater from sewage. That's what we thought it was. But even in these suburban areas, in little ponds and streams, these frogs, the females their numbers are skyrocketing.
Where? Why? Why is it changing? What are we doing differently?
Yeah. Well, in these areas, females born are almost twice the proportion, almost twice that of frog populations in forested ponds. So they don't know exactly what the mechanism is yet because they weren't expecting to see this at all. This is part of a survey, and they had no idea they would get this result, so they weren't looking at other elements. So now they have to go back and they have to study these areas closely, study the groundwater, study the runoff, study all these things to figure out what's going on. So that means that these suburbs, there's something that's going into these manicured gardens and lawns that's affecting these frogs.
Yeah.
And so, for example, one of the plants commonly found in lawns, clovers, they naturally produce phytoestrogens.
Yeah, I was going to say it might not be chemical related. If you've got estrogen, that's one. There's also lavender has is a natural estrogen sort. So it could also be the sort of planting decisions that humans make that could also be contributing.
But it seems a little off to me. I mean, people have had lawns for years. I mean, people have been. I mean, I would say the 1950s. You know, we're like, okay, everybody, let's put lawns and white picket fences in front of our houses, and that was, let's do that. And people have been doing that ever since. And it's only recently, I mean, maybe since the 70s, with drought conditions in different areas, that people are talking more about, lawn areas that do not include grass. About having, so what has changed? Something has changed.
Are we just noticing it now because we're studying it?
Yeah, or is it just now?
Or people are just like, yeah, you know what? There is a lawn in the front of the house. I don't think we've ever used it for anything lawn related.
Right. Well, and the other
70s,
part of it is
the lawn dart illegal, and at that point it was kind of like, what do we even need a lawn for?
Another part of it is the fact that there is wastewater going out of these homes. So are we not doing enough auditing on pipes coming out of the homes? Is there some sort of leaching happening from this plumbing that's affecting as well the water systems? There's a lot of things that could be happening.
Or is it because so many women are on the pill that it's just getting into our water supplies and we're watering our lawns with it and we're drinking it?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, are people using more gray water now because of water problems? I mean, not in Connecticut.
Not in Connecticut, there.
But But that's something to think about too. If
Interesting.
you're going to use part of a gray water system, you have to make sure that you're not putting anything into the water system that you're upcycling that could affect the ecosystem.
With all the thousands, tens of thousands of varieties of medicines and types and vitamins, every type of pill that you could possibly take, only one has been as important to society to be deemed the pill.
Right.
without need of further explanation.
Yeah. And
I think the one thing to think about from that story, though, the whole story is, endocrine disruption is bad. So this is a signal that something has changed, something is not good. More frogs, it's not just more frogs, it's more female frogs.
Right.
And the numbers of frogs are possibly declining as a result of this.
And amphibians are indicator species. They're kind of the canary in the coal mine in the water table. So anything that affects amphibians, we see it in them first, and they're often a precursor to other species. So they want to go back and they want to study all the water. They also want to look at other amphibians like wood frogs, gray tree frogs, salamanders, and then they want to start looking at birds, turtles, and then also some mammals in the area too, because these amphibians are a great indicator to just have to look at something.
Yeah.
Now, one more water-related story that's real quick.
Cool.
The Great Barrier Reef. It's a pretty cool place, right?
It's gorgeous. It's world renowned. People travel from around the world to visit and see it and dive it.
Yes, it is one of the most biodiverse places on the entire planet. Well, scientists have discovered a never-before-seen coral reef off the southern coast of Australia, and it could rival the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow.
They were found in the deep, chilly waters of the coast of Wilson's Promontory National Park, so that's 157 kilometers southeast of Melbourne, and it's known for its terrestrial ecosystems, but for the first time, they went down to about 100 meters deep and in ROVs, so humans didn't go. So in the remotely operated vehicles, they took footage, and they were shocked at what they found. They found a few species that have never been found in that area before. They found boulders the size of houses. They found holes 90 meters deep filled with schools of fish. They found underwater caves. They found 30-meter-high sand dunes. It is so abundant. They were not expecting to find anything like this. And they're actually thinking they might find some brand new species. So it's just a good reminder. I occasionally go up on a little soapbox about, yes, exploring space is great, but what about the ocean? And this is exactly why, because there is this massive reef that has a huge amount of biodiversity, some species we probably have never seen before, and some species that we thought were almost gone. And it was just hanging out down there. So it's important to explore it, not just to gain the knowledge, but also to know what to protect. So knowing where this is can help us identify a space that needs protection.
And it looks like an absolutely beautiful space. And if I were a diver, I'd want to go there.
Want to go to there.
But I will settle for pictures from an ROV and pretending like I'm there. Maybe we can use virtual reality to take us all there, right?
Oh my God, this is what's going to happen. An ROV that sometimes they have live webcams at special places where you can hit a button and wait for control of the webcam and move it around. We need to do this for ROVs. So you sign online, you go to this website, and then you click, I'd like control next, please. And then eventually you get control of the ROV and you get to move the camera around. Oh my God, yes.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes.
That would be. This is one of the few applications that would get my big thumbs up for virtual reality. How to explore our oceans, our reef systems without actually having to be able to dive, and you could be anywhere in the world. And That would be
And
amazing.
if they got people who knew what they were looking at to volunteer all over the world,
It
that's
could be guided tours.
but it's also a bunch of hours of research that people wouldn't have to sit in a lab and do. They could crowdsource it.
Yep.
They could do surveys of what they see.
Look at all these ideas we've come up with. I hope a whole bunch of scientists are listening to us
Who's
right
listening?
now.
Give TWIS 10%.
That's right. That's right. Well, we are well over 10% of the way through our show, so it's time for us to take a very short break, and we will be back in just a few moments, though, with more This Week in Science. Stay tuned.
Can't explain the things you heard with more than intuition.
If you're still listening or watching, that means you are a fan of TWIS. And if you are a fan of TWIS, why don't you head on over to iTunes or YouTube or wherever you like to consume this program and give us a review. Review us, make a nice comment, give us some thumbs up and some stars, and get other people listening to TWIS. That would be really helpful. We'd love that. Could you do it? Thanks. Also, you can all head over to TWIS to find merchandise. We've got a Zazzle store with hats and shirts and bags and all sorts of fun products that have the TWIS logo emblazoned all over them, just for you and your friends and your family and coworkers. You just keep buying things for people, and it'll help us out, and it'll help you out because you'll have things to wear. So head over there, twis.org, TWIS.org. Check out our Zazzle store. It's in the main header bar. Link, click, and go buy stuff. That would be awesome. TWIS is also supported by donations from listeners just like you. That's right, you. And you. Oh, you in the back. Yes, you. And you with the headphones. Yes, you. All of your donations pay for everything we do, hosting, bandwidth, new equipment we need to use for stuff and places we want to go and fun things we try to do. It helps us do everything and just do the show on a week-to-week basis, just being here. You make it possible, and you can help us out in two ways. We have PayPal buttons all over our website, so head over to twis.org and look for those little PayPal buttons. Pew, 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 pew. Donate. Makes it real easy. If you don't like PayPal and want to try a different way, we also use Patreon. So you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/thisweekinscience, patreon.com thisweekinscience, and you can donate on an ongoing basis, whatever your preference. Why don't you head on over to the website and listen to the most recent episode and comment on the show and make a donation. That would be really great. But if you can't afford a donation, we understand that as well. And we can always use your help in different ways. So if there's something else you can do for us, let us know. Or just share the show with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Bug them a little bit. That would be cool. No, I don't want you to bug people. But share us with your friends. That's one of the biggest things we can do. A friend referral is one of the best ways to get the word out about TWIS so that we can grow our audience. We really could not do this without you. Thank you for your support.
And we are back with more of This Week in Science.
Yes, we are. I liked your pauses. It's good syllables.
It's
Occasionally
time for
have
science.
pregnant.
Yeah, tell me some
Speaking of pregnancies,
Yes! Seg right in.
C-sections are less likely
Stop it.
to occur when care includes midwives and 24-hour obstetrician coverage, according to a study by researchers at UC San Francisco and a Marin General Hospital. They got a unique opportunity to do this study. They published in Obstetrics and Gynecology on September 8th, compared number of C-sections among women with private insurance before and after an overhaul of staff practices at Marin General Hospital. So, very unique opportunity to look at the same sort of demographic of pregnant women and see how a simple change and how their healthcare interacts with them makes a difference in the outcomes here. Prior to April 2011, private patients at this community hospital in Northern California were managed under a conventional model in which labor and delivery care was provided by a private physician or covering partner. In that model, the physician took calls at home or in the office and generally managed labor remotely. Pregnant women who were covered by state public health insurance had access to 24-hour in-house obstetricians and midwives, and it was noticed that they had fewer C-sections. Then the hospital implemented two major changes for private patients. They made midwives available around the clock to all patients, and they enlisted 10 of their private practice obstetricians as laborists who provided in-house labor and delivery coverage without competing clinical duties. In many communities, community hospitals, labor is managed by nurses with obstetricians providing supervision by phone and typically reaching the patient just in time for the delivery. Nationally, however, more and more hospitals now employ midwives and laborists offering alternative modes of care. So, nationally, 32.7% of births are by C-section. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, C-sections are considered a safe procedure, but they are associated with greater risk for future pregnancies. They looked at the data for... So basically what they did the switch. Now the same group, demographic of women with the private insurance are getting midwife, they're getting that labor coach, and at this particular hospital, the rate was 31.7% of C-section, which is only 1% below the national rate. So it's a good indicator. After having midwives?
I was just going to say I had a midwife at UCSF. I wasn't at the Marin General Hospital, but I was at UCSF and took advantage of their midwife facilities. I did not have a C-section, and I had private insurance. Just saying.
Right. No, this is the point. This is exactly the point.
Yeah.
So, at Marin, they didn't have the midwives. So they made the switch. So now at Marin, they have the midwives. And in that switch, they went from 31.7% getting C-sections down to 25%.
Wow.
Right.
It's impressive, yeah.
That trend then continued. The next 2 years of this period of the study, it went down 1.7% per year after that, bringing it down to about 22%, or below 22%.
Well, I think the difference is midwives. I think hospitals, conventional hospitals, are important for emergency situations that you can't predict necessarily. But midwives in those hospitals can help reduce responding to situations with medical treatment first. That things are from a health-based perspective as opposed to a disease-based perspective, where you look at the person who's pregnant as not in a disease state, but in a healthy state. And so it changes the way that you approach different problems.
So a midwife in a hospital she just hangs out with you the whole time.
No, she's not. I mean, it's a ward. It's a hospital ward. So
right.
The midwife is on. There's a midwife and there's a doctor on duty, and then there are, residents and.
But so the addition of the midwife means that she's there with you through the whole labor process.
Yeah, but it's also it's not just the labor process.
Attending.
It's a lot of it is the education. A lot of it is walking you through, sitting you through, talking you through what to expect, what it's going to be like, what is normal, what isn't normal.
And it's also working with the doctors and the nurses on staff so that they are actually partners in the treatments. So they actually work at UCSF. They work in a very, very collaborative, team-based perspective, and it works really well.
So the little one who made a little visual appearance before the break there was completely at home. And you know, when you talk to the midwives, they will tell you that the number of C-sections is appalling and unnecessary, and that doctors seem to not understand that the human body was designed, the female body is designed to give birth. And just the fact that they don't understand
to give birth,
yes, that it's worked for our entire existence. Their failure to understand this is boggling to them. That there would be that a third of women are unable somehow to give normal childbirth, and they point to a lot of the things that the steps that come in attempting to numb pain. You also end pushing, which then leads you right to a C-section, which has a painful recovery period. Yes. So having that advice, having somebody who's birthed hundreds, if not in the case of 1,000 children into the world, gives you some confidence that when a doctor says, you know, let's fill you full of drugs and then show you your baby when you recover, that you might want to pass on it. You know, it's giving you a voice and an education that the doctors aren't really, frankly, don't really go through a whole lot of education on birthing. I've noticed, at least.
I'm going to argue people who are obstetricians and gynecologists, that is what they do, and that is what they are trained on. I'm going to say, though, it is a difference in perspective in how they are trained. And as opposed to being trained as a doctor to respond to something going wrong and looking at things happening in the body as something going wrong.
A baby is not something going wrong.
No, but sometimes physiological or metabolic aspects of the mother's body change or the baby's body change. And because they change, a doctor will look at it, like I said a few minutes ago, from a perspective of disease, as opposed to a perspective of this is all a natural, healthy process, and let's just look at it as change, and how do we respond to that change. And so it's the perspective of health versus the perspective of disease. Yeah.
And there's also an element of contact.
I'm on the same page with you there, but I think
we both are. But I think
I'm not anti-doctor. I think doctors.
No, I'm not anti-doctor, but also a big part of it, I think, is that contact part, where I think the midwife, because they're focused on birth process, the doctor might have, I don't know, other things going on. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they're one doctor and there's 10 midwives in this particular hospital, right?
I don't know.
They can answer questions. They can sit down. You can talk to them more. If you're worried about something, if there's a pain that doesn't feel right, if you're nervous that you're to this or you're to that, you can call somebody.
Unless it's the middle of the night and none of the midwives are on staff.
The midwives in Davis are always up.
In which case, you get a resident.
They're on shift work.
I got a resident. Things went downhill fast, but the midwife came back in the morning.
The only contact when you call in is somebody who doesn't know you, hasn't talked to you, they might say, yeah, come in, let's get that thing out of you right now. Come on. I mean, they might not, let's err on the side of safety and just give you a C-section. Because you're a woman and your body obviously wasn't designed to give birth.
Let's talk about babies some more, though. I have some more baby-associated news. Baby brains. One thing that we've never really been able to do is study the body maps that exist in the baby's brain. So in adults, we've been able to stick adults in MRIs, and we've been able to stick them in EEGs, and we've been able to do all sorts of things to be able to map the homunculus within the brain. You know, how does the adult sensory cortex or the adult motor cortex, how do they map out the body within your brain? How does it correspond? What's in your brain to all the movement and sensation in these limbs, right? So we've done that in adults. We've had this for years, but nobody's really ever done it in babies because it's babies, right? It's hard to do studies on babies. A lot of parents are like, don't touch my baby. Don't stick my baby in an MRI machine. I don't need that. So some researchers at University of Washington's Institute for Learning and Brain Scientists have worked on a study to use pretty much EEGs where they stuck caps with sensors on the baby's head. So the babies just basically had to wear
Adorable.
little swim caps. Super adorable, right? And then the sensors recorded the brain activity just from the surface of the head. So it's not specific, but because there are lots of sensors all over the cap, they can get an idea of where signals are coming from within the brain. And they looked at how touches to the infant's hands and feet changed activation in the sensory areas of the brain. And they show that the body maps of infants are still organized very particularly and kind of like adults, just maybe not as specifically. Another study looked at the body maps of how, with 14-month-olds that were assigned to watch adults touch an object with either their hand or with their foot. And they found out that the sensory area of the hand in the baby's brain got activated when they watched an adult's hand touch something. So there is a correlation, a corresponding pattern of activity in the baby's baby's brain. So when you as a parent or an adult with a baby are doing something, when you're touching something, when you're moving around and they're watching you, their brains are really responding to what your hand is doing. Once they've figured out that your hand is similar to their hand, their brain knows it.
How old were these babies?
So this study was 14. With the adults moving around was 14 months old, so just over a year. And the initial study was 7 months old.
Wow. So that stuff is pretty hardwired, it sounds like.
Yeah. So I mean, by 7 months old, babies are moving around a bit and doing stuff. So there's, they're going to have a bit more sensory definition. But I would love, if it were possible to do this, I'd love to see
on
this.
A newborn?
Yeah. On a newborn or a very young infant, to find out, when they can't see anything, when they can't even, they put their hand in their mouth because they can't see it. So they're like, I'm gonna eat it because my tongue is the only thing that really can figure out what things look like. Yeah. So it'd be very interesting to look at that, but it's a really interesting.
We just need tinier swim caps.
We need tinier swim caps. Yeah, we need to be looking at. Yeah, and so the question, really is like, how do these maps change? So we know they're there by 7 months old. We know by 14 months old they're responding to the actions of others. But what about earlier, and how does the brain change as a result of experience from babies to older babies?
Nice.
And then another kind of interesting correlate to this is a group of researchers looked at monkeys and at how monkeys process information for faces. And so we know that in humans there are face processing patches. They're called face patches. And these are areas of the brain that are dedicated to responding to faces. And those face patches in humans are also wired to other areas of the brain that process information, sensory information, and also emotional information. So that is what allows us to respond to smiles, frowns, and be able to figure out whether or not somebody's happy or angry or sad or any other emotion. And then so they looked at macaque monkeys and did a very similar study to find out, okay, macaques are social animals. They're related to humans, being primates. So how closely does their brain wiring match up to people's? And they found out that they absolutely have these face patches, and that there's an extended face processing network, and that these core face processing areas are connected to several other brain areas that are related to social, emotional, and cognitive functions. So the interesting aspect of this is that it suggests that what we think of as like what humans can do is like recognize emotions and like be social and think about stuff related to other people, that it's actually deeply wired into our primate history, and that it probably evolved much earlier, much earlier in our lineage. So it's a deep evolutionary heritage of our abilities for social cognition.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool stuff.
We're not that special.
We're
is
not
the moral of both of those stories.
Yeah, pretty much. Way to bring it down.
No, I think it's great. It means us and animals and life forms are not that different. Kind of looping it back around to that primordial protein
the protein.
soup.
Yeah. Justin, you have another story? Nope, no more stories.
Said no.
All right, Blair, do you have another story?
I have a quick one. So the United Nations gives awards to environmental organizations every year. And this year, they are awarding the Black Mamba Anti-Poaching Unit in South Africa. It's a majority women ranger group that protects endangered species.
Wow.
And they are getting this top award. And I just wanted to say that there's not a whole lot of exciting news from this, except for the fact that we are going out of our way to identify these amazing groups, and that one of them is mostly women is insane. So I wanted to read a quote from one of the women in the groups. So Lita Mikabella is a member of the Black Mamba Rangers, and she said, "I am not afraid. I know what I am doing, and I know why I am doing it. If you see poachers, you tell them not to try. Tell them we are here, and it is they who are in danger. Animals deserve to live. They have a right to live. Do your part. When demand ends, the killing will end. Say yes to life. Say no to illegal rhino horn and elephant ivory."
I like that. That is powerful.
So I do have one more story.
All right.
I totally do. This is the how climate deniers reproduce.
Oh yes, I was excited for that one.
Teased out the story we teased out to some excitement in the beginning. We should probably do by the end of the show.
Yeah.
I found this on Tech Insider's science thingy. It's referencing something that was published in the journal Theoretical and Applied Climatology. Basically, what they did is they went back and they looked at a bunch of studies. A handful. Let's see. Here we go. 4,000 studies that says that humans are creating global warming, right? Thousands of thousands. And then 2% of the studies saying, there's nothing. Humans have nothing to do with it. So they went through and randomly picked about half of those studies and attempted to reproduce them. This is going to be fun. They found, of course, beyond being unable to replicate most of the results, the team discovered major flaws in the papers. In fact, many papers left out essential data. Some even ignored physics. They said the top 3 most common problems in these studies. It says Dana says Dana and his colleagues. One example, 2011 paper tried to show the lunar and solar cycle are responsible for climate change, but they ignored 6,000 years worth of data that didn't agree with their idea. So there was quite a bit of cherry picking of, sort of this year agrees, this year doesn't agree, this year agrees. We'll just study those years that agreed with our hypotheses. While most papers misconstructed. While most papers.
That's not how you science.
That's not how you science, people. While most papers misconstrued or left out data or simply ignored core scientific facts, a handful of papers blamed climate change on the orbits of Jupiter and Saturn. But researchers in those papers didn't offer any explanation for how that would be possible or have anything to do with climate on the planet here whatsoever at all. But really, you need to Jupiter and Saturn. Look no further, because that's the answer. Other studies argue that greenhouse gases that fuel climate change, including carbon dioxide, don't drive global warming much beyond a particular saturation point. So you get a certain amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, and that's it. You don't get any more global warming out of that. There's little, but once it gets to saturation point, no more. Which would let humans, that would be not all humans, but those who want to profit off of carbons, off the hook for adding more and more to the atmosphere. However, apparently this idea had been disproven back in the early 1900s. So
I feel like if we hit the saturation point of carbon dioxide, we wouldn't be able to breathe anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
97% of experts agree that humans are worsening climate change. And the other 2 to 3% of papers that reject the consensus have no consensus.
They're garbage.
They have no consensus. They're currently all over the map, even at times contradicting each other with their attempts to tell a story of why the planet is heating.
This is great.
So-
This is an amazing story, and I'm tempted to print this out and carry it everywhere with me
Nobody
because
will listen to you, though. The people who don't want to listen, they're going to stick their fingers in their ears and then they're going, la, 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 I don't know, it's Saturn.
there is a very small percentage of people that are in the middle that are
It's true.
prime
We've talked about
to be
that.
swayed.
Yes.
So this is perfect ammunition for people that say there is no consensus, which there is a group of people who believe that and don't understand that there is a consensus.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, the consensus is there. The consensus against the consensus is not a consensus. Yeah, basically.
Love it. This is great.
I have a couple of quick stories before we head on out of here. Something really interesting, actually, which we've talked about like years in the past, but a study from the British Antarctic Survey, publishing in the journal Nature this last week, shows that organic waste from phytoplankton, life in the oceans, gets ejected from the oceans in spray, and then it ends up in the atmosphere and stimulates cloud formation. And so it's kind of interesting. So basically, these compounds that are released as waste material from these phytoplankton end up in the spray in the atmosphere and create little ice particles, ice nucleating particles. And because they are these small nucleating particles, they can then get clouds to form around them and also potentially lead to, water movement other places. So marine biological matter from stuff in the ocean, these little phytoplankton, is important to clouds and could potentially be really important in the polar regions as well.
So then the metal processing microbes of the billions of years ago that lead to an environment with more minerals in the sea, so the phytoplankton, and then the phytoplankton creating, all of a sudden you got more snowfall, water moving around, more oxygen, and then all of a sudden, see how this whole thing's all tied together? How with just a few data points I can connect the entire origin of the planet. But maybe this is how we go about that Genesis project, right? That colonization of other planets project. Maybe this is the Mars Effect's destiny.
Maybe it's part of it.
You send the microbes that can that are going to eat the irons that a couple billion years from now are going to allow the phytoplankton to be changing the weather on that planet. It's long-term terraforming. But there you go, folks.
Or we just pay attention to it as our polar ice caps shrink, opening up more water, potentially leaving more space for these phytoplankton waste particles to have a greater effect. These ice nucleating particles might become a lot more important as there's more water at the poles as opposed to ice. And then going back to your whole thing about linking all things together, it's really fun. There's another study out of Vanderbilt University, published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B, looking at Earth's early microbes and microorganisms after the first 3 billion years. Larger things started to grow. Oxygen was poisonous, but some other things were able to crawl around. And so this group of animals called the Ediacarans came about 600 million years ago during a warm period following extensive glaciation. And they didn't produce shells or exoskeletons, so we don't actually have any remains of them other than their imprints, where they were where their soft tissues just happened to press into a sediment in just the right way and be preserved. And so we don't actually have any Ediacarans anywhere. We just have their imprints. So anyway, that's pretty much that's pretty much all we know about them. But they all died out at one point. 540 million years ago. Gone. It was the first mass extinction on the planet. And so paleontologists have been wondering what happened to actually make that happen. And so these researchers looked at a number of sites, one in southern Namibia and another in South Australia, the White Sea in Russia, looking at different years from about 600 million years ago to about 550 million years ago, to kind of look and see what was going on in terms of ecological stress and chemicals and diversity of animals and what was happening. Basically, there wasn't really a lack of vital nutrients. The geochemistry among the sites was pretty good, but pretty much it suggests that evolutionary innovation, ecosystem engineering, and biological interactions may have ultimately caused this first mass extinction of complex life, and they pin it down to the Cambrian explosion. So the Cambrian explosion around 540 million years ago, a 25 million year period when vertebrates, mollusks, arthropods, annelids, sponges, jellyfish, the things that made us, all came into being. Basically, our ancestors killed the Ediacarans. Jerks. Life killed life.
That's generally how it goes.
Yeah. Life giveth and life taketh away. And we're at the end of the show.
Yay!
Yay, we did this. It's time to thank our sponsors. Thanks to Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard, Ed Dyer, John Ratnaswamy, Steve DeBell, Gerald Sorrells, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Andreas Akestad, Jason Roberts, Patrick Cohn, Shannon Tara Ginsberg, Richard Onemus, Byron Lee, E.O., Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Brian Condren, Jake Jones, Trainer 84, Kati, Edvardus Rumkus, Brian Hedrick, Cassie Lester, Sarah Chavez, Steven Srowiak, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson, Henry, Don Kamarechka, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Tony Steele, Dave Friedel, Daryl Lambert, Kevin Parachan, Robert Francis Aston, Steve Mashinsky, Brooke Canaday, Phil Clark, Rodney Lewis, Broxton Howard, Phil Nadeau, Rick Ramus, Salgood Sam, Matt Sutter, Emma Grenier, Miranda Mechanic, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Steve Goodwin, Kurt Larson, Stefan Insam, Michael George, Craig Landon, Russell Jensen, Mountain Sloth, Jim DePoe, Darren Lute, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, John H. Maloney, Jason Olds, James, Noah Wilds, Paul West, Ed Bennett, Alec Doty, Luma Lama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, Tia Morrow, Miko Pakala, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, Scott Lajewski, David Simmerly, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothig, Columbo Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. Thank you for your support of This Week in Science on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting us, you can also find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Also remember that you can help us out simply by telling your friends about TWIS or putting a review on iTunes. On next week's show, once again, we will be back broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific Time on Wednesday on twis.org/live. But you can also watch it there and catch it on the chat room. But don't worry if you can't make it. You can find our past episodes at twis.org/YouTube or twis.org.
Thank you once again for enjoying the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile device, you can look for TWIS for Droid in anything Android. Also, This Week in Science can be found in the Apple Marketplace as This Week in Science.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's at www.twis.org, where you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can hit us up directly. Email Kirsten at kirsten@thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at Jacksonfly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
It's all in your head. I already closed the music computer out.
This week in science.
science! Science!
Science, 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 science.
This week in science.
This week in science.
I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news. What I say may not represent your views. Come on, we can Acapulco this.
I can't. I've heard it so many times, and I cannot.
Acapulco this.
Isn't that what Acapulco singing?
What the heck?
It's because in Acapulco they like outlawed instruments or something, so you just have to sing it. You gotta wing it.
Oh, jeez. I don't know. I was closing up shop, and I just turned off the computer.
Couldn't possibly need that for anything. Just turn it off.
My goodness.
Well, I just stick it in the file.
Put it in post.
Stick it in a post for the podcast. It's great.
Okay, instead of that, I'm going to read you guys a leaflet that I purchased today.
You purchased a leaflet?
How to talk to your cat about evolution.
You have got to be kidding me.
Oh, man.
It's from the American Association of Patriots.
Because patriots care about
Do I need to talk to my cat about evolution? Absolutely yes.
No.
Cats today are bombarded with atheist propaganda from every angle, from the godless degenerates that infest our entertainment industry to the pinko liberals in government who would love nothing more than to outlaw the practice of Christianity. It is your duty as a responsible cat owner to protect them from the barrage of misinformation they are assaulted with every day. If
This
you
is
are taking
fantastic. Oh my God.
If you're taking your cat with you to church on a regular basis, that will often not be enough to inoculate them against the myth of evolution. Your cat needs to not only accept that God created Earth and the United States of America, but also be able to understand the insidious nature of the lies Darwin spawned in an attempt to destroy our country. The theory of evolution is not just false, it is also dangerous. Dangerous to you, dangerous to your cat, and even dangerous to America. It is your job to teach your cat right from wrong, good from evil, and creation from evolution, or as we like to call it, evolution.
Because then maybe they could protect themselves from Toxoplasma gondii, because that's probably all they're trying to do, because they're patriots and they want to protect the babies of the United States of America.
Oh,
Did I put the dots together all right for you, Justin?
What exactly is the danger of not talking to my cat about evolution? There is a secret war being waged in our great country, a shadow war, a war not only for the soul of every red-blooded American citizen, but for the souls of our cats as well. There are forces in our world who would like
How did they
nothing
find
more
out?
than to transform our freedom-loving
Secret,
nation
no more.
into a secular Stalinist dictatorship.
Except for the Stalinist part. They
What's
got
the
it all
moment
right.
of conception for cats?
That's a good question.
I think it's after the 8th life. Is
Right.
it before?
Which life?
Who are the enemies that seek to undermine my cat's faith in creationism? Who are the enemies?
Me.
There
It's
are
me.
two
Is there a
groups.
picture of me?
There are two groups who have devoted themselves to impressing upon our cats the myth of evolution: the puppets and their puppet masters. Most of the people you encounter who advocate for the lie of evolution are nothing more than brainwashed sheep, blindly
That's right.
parroting the lies spoon-fed to them by Hollywood Jews and their masters, a coalition of elements from the United Nations, European Union, the Rothschild family, and the Blinderberg Group.
Or
Okay,
the
so
real
so
finger
so
puppets.
first of all,
Like
first of all,
this.
first of all, um,
Finger puppets.
yeah,
Oh, advice from our
isn't
experts. Many
their
cats love to
analogy of
lay
it
on
all?
paper. Try opening several Bibles to Genesis and place them on the floor or on a table. Your cat will find the books irresistible and absorb some of God's wisdom in the process.
I think the Bibles
This
will
is
be
such
do the
wonderful.
absorption there.
This is
Um,
comedy gold.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Advice from our experts. Scientists claim that evolution is a constant force in the world, and yet you never see a fish with legs or a dog with antlers. You can use a fish purchased at your local grocery store to illustrate the flaws in our enemy's logic. See, there's the cat.
I've seen a dog with antlers.
yeah, I see it every year in the Grinch.
That's what I was gonna say. I've seen it.
Okay, so I bought this one, and then the other one that I wrote or that I bought was how to talk to your cat about gun safety, which is
That's
pretty
awesome.
hilarious. Look at all these pictures.
Or that's scary. Or you can look at the dog with antlers and pictures of the Grinch.
So my cat finds a gun. What's the big deal?
My
It is
cat should
often
not be allowed
said
to have
that
a gun.
curiosity killed the cat, but what is less often stated is that the actual cause of death was the improper discharge of firearms by a poorly trained feline. Cats
I
are
love these.
inquisitive creatures, no doubt about it. You must expect that they are going to explore every nook and cranny of your home. And if you keep a firearm in your place of residence, which you should, it is only a matter of time before your cat discovers it. Pause for a moment to think about which scenario you would rather play out.
Can I tell you how much I love this? Like, you could get rid of
Fantastic.
every magazine that humanity is creating today and place these in a waiting lobby, and I will be much happier. Whoever did this is,
Oh my
is
gosh.
hilarious and is a genius.
There are
my
so
God.
many people who would
I
take it
love it.
seriously.
I
though.
bought them for a couple of my friends that have cats, and I haven't been able to give them away yet because I haven't read them cover to cover yet. But look at the front of this one with the how to talk to your cat about evolution.
Yeah, I
With
love this.
tiny toy dinosaurs. That's how you do it.
Uh-huh.
That's how you do it.
So yeah, I haven't been able to part with them yet.
That's good. You guys.
I'll be right back.
Nope. Tonight we have to go. I have to go. Or I can leave this running and you guys can hang out for a little while. But I have a guest who
I'll be
just
right
showed
back.
up in the house. I gotta go. No, I gotta go. I'm gonna hang up. You're gonna hang
I'll
up.
wait for him. You go.
You're gonna. Okay. You'll wait for him.
But I am going to bed soon.
Okay, I'll come up and check and see if it's still running. This
Okay.
is just gonna be an empty YouTube. You're leaving too?
Nope, I just went to get cat treats.
Oh, it's gonna be a cat-tastic episode now.
Yes. There was a cat that was all up on the microphone before.
Ah!
Kitties!
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna head on out. I'll be back. I'll check in and click the off button in a little bit. Love you guys too. Thanks, CR1. I enjoyed the chat room today. Super fun as usual. And once again, I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you're in Portland, are you in Portland? I'm
No,
gonna
I
be
wish.
giving a talk at the Mini Maker Faire on Sunday at 1 p.m.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to talk
And
about
I'm
too.
gonna be talking about TWIS.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear all about it. The podcast that I was on dropped this week.
Yes, and so tell everybody about that. It's
Yeah.
amazing. People should listen to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
go. Okay.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.
So I was on a show called the Copeland Coaching Podcast, and it was all about my career in the zoo field, and then also how I ended up on TWIS. So, oh, there's a kitty. Hi. So I taught her how to do this earlier. Let's see if she'll do it. Hey. So I talked all about my career. It was very fun, and it's on the on the iTunes now. Come here. I did it before. She's like, I don't do it on the table. Yeah, so I was on this podcast. It was really fun. So if you're ever curious about my journey through the zoo world and all that kind of stuff, and the real story of how I ended up on TWIS, which is kind of funny.
Wait, we don't know the real story?
No, you know the real story.
Maybe I don't.
That my email got spam filtered into oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway. Look at the kitty. Look, she's so cute.
There's not enough meat on it to eat it, and it's providing nothing to the household.
Look at her. She's so cute.
Can't milk them.
Hello.
Can't eat them.
Look, she's
All of this.
adorable.
Vector. Might as well be holding a
Little
giant
kitty.
rat. Probably.
Nope. Disagree. Rats also make good pets, though.
You know, I'm somebody who has no pets. So I guess I don't relate, regardless of what animal you've decided humans should be cohabitating with. I kind of don't think any of them belong in my house.
Oh, thanks, guys, for sharing the link to the interview. It's very nice. Yes, cats can be trained. I've trained other cats before. This is only my second day at this house, but I have already started trying to train her on a trick. But I don't think she wants to do it on the table. She might do it. Here we go. I'm not going to see if I have to like that. There we go. Come here. You can do it. But I'm trying to train her to stand on her hind legs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also going to try to train her to spin. But
right now it seems like she's got you trained to repeatedly give her treats. I
right
don't
now
know.
I'm training her to take treats from me, which actually with a cat is difficult.
Yeah.
So, but I did get her to stand up on her hind legs several times earlier.
What? Blair, did you really just say that it's hard to train an animal to repeatedly feed them?
Yeah, cats. Because they're distrustful of new people. They don't always take treats. Like, dogs will take treats from anybody, but cats won't necessarily. So.
What was it we reported on, that dogs are more likely to take treats from a stranger if they've seen that stranger do some sort of exchange with the owner?
if the person was mean to their owner, they wouldn't take treats from them.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. I did almost train a cat to not need food from me anymore. I had a cat once, a long time ago, and I'd cut its food in half every day.
And it left.
No. I almost got it to the point where I didn't actually need to feed it anymore. I nearly got it down
found
to
its
eating
own
nothing.
food.
No, it died of natural causes before I had that point. But it took a long time to get there, so I don't know if I'll ever try it again.
Sounds like you killed your cat.
No. I was training it not to need food. It's totally different.
No, that's called killing your cat. You starved
No,
it.
it's not. I didn't starve a cat. What are you talking about?
That's what it sounds like.
Training it. It's training
No.
it.
Nice try. Okay, you don't like that one? Yes, I prefer dogs, Whiskey Renegade. I agree. But cats are still fun. And yes, I am feeding her a lot of treats. She's very skinny. The other cat likes to bully her away from her food, so I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to fatten her up a little bit.
No, I'd never actually starved a cat. People, relax. I did have a cat that wouldn't eat its food. It was a park-found cat. It was living under a library at McKinley Park, which I guess is the McKinley Library in Sacramento. And his ear was torn up. He looked like he'd been in a brawl. He didn't have a collar or anything. So I was like, all right, cat, you can come home with me. And I'm going to give you a nice cat home with cat food and cat dish. And it ate the food, but it preferred tuna. I had to give it tuna. It didn't want to eat cat food. It didn't like cat food. And it really didn't want to touch the cat food. Like, it was really annoyed by cat food. It would eat tuna or Or in the yard, we'd find the remains of squirrels.
Hmm.
It was a squirrel, which makes sense. McKinley Park in downtown in Sacramento, there, East Sac, lots of squirrels. Giant park, lots of squirrels. This is what the cat had been eating, living off of, and this is probably what got it tore up, is fighting with squirrels. But yeah, we would find it would just be the head of the squirrel, and like almost like it had taxidermy, like was keeping the pelt, like it would eat the entire rest of the squirrel would be missing. Yeah, who wants to eat cat food? I don't think cat teeth are designed for cat food. It doesn't seem like it's the right, you know? It's either mushy, which you got these great, you know, these great cat teeth for getting flesh off of something, sharp teeth. Mush, you might as well have cat dentures, or not even have cat teeth. And then the hard is just like, it's like feeding a cat almonds. It doesn't make sense. But cats do like tuna. If you have a cat, you should just feed it tuna. And eggs. Tuna and eggs. That's what my cat likes.
Do you like the sculpture behind me? On the wall?
Okay. Hang on. Let me freeze frame it on there. So is that a sculpture? It looked like, I kept thinking it was a clock, but now it does look more like a tree sculpture. I do like it. Yes.
So here, I'm going to unplug. I'm going to show you some other stuff in this room. Okay, so that's a window. All right, okay. See all the sculptures?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Digging it.
Yeah. Those are all original Ruth Asawas.
Well, my
you don't know what that means.
I don't know. I'm not a sculpture guy typically, but I always like sculpture. I don't do it or own it much.
Right.
I do have some. I have a big clay pyramid thing. It's like 3.5 feet high, somewhere in here. But I do like the branches thing behind there. That is pretty.
My favorite is the tree on the other wall there that I showed you guys.
Is it? All right, show me again, because I couldn't see the tree. I missed it. I was looking at the stuff on the ceiling. Maybe I was just looking at the wrong place. Not that lady.
Right there.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So I was recently at the Cornerstone in Sonoma.
Uh-huh.
And my favorite thing throughout the whole place is this giant metal wire tree. It's beautiful. If you haven't been to the Cornerstone in Sonoma, you need to go.
I don't think so.
You need to go there. Cornerstone.
Cornerstone. It's in the city of Sonoma?
No, I don't know where it is. I think it might be in Napa. Maybe it's not in Sonoma at all.
Okay.
I think it's.
Well, that's very different.
Might be in Sonoma. I think it's just barely in Sonoma. But the point of it is, it's a walking art installation, outdoor garden installation art place that has a nice place to eat and yeah. But absolutely beautiful use of space, you know. And most of the spaces that they're using for these projects are like an average backyard type space. They're not like you wouldn't have to have an incredible amount of space to pull this off. But the innovation and basically yard space type thing, and there's like, I don't know, 30, 40 maybe. There's a ton of exhibits there. But each one is its own sort of installation. So something like that metal tree, but picture it 10 times bigger and outdoors. Are you Googling it?
Yeah, I'm just sharing in the. Yeah, it's pretty wild to be in a house with all this. I like it a lot. It's kind of neat, all these wire sculptures. Trying to think what else I had other things I was going to talk about in the after show. Mainly my cat pamphlets, which we covered pretty well, although I only read about 10% of what's in there.
Oh wow. No, I'm a big fan of this. I'm
want
super
more?
jealous that we didn't write it ourselves, but that's always a good sign that I really like something.
What is their plan? This is the enemies that seek to undermine my cat's faith in creationism.
This is my plan.
What is their plan?
My plan.
The enemy knows that if they can convince our cats that the earth and the universe was created by random chance and not divine will, then they will lose faith in the existence of God. And if God does not exist, then there are no longer any rules about right and wrong, good or evil. All morality will become relative. There is no reason for cats to behave if there is no hope for kitty heaven or fear of kitty hell. Cats will turn against their owners, pee outside the litter box, make friends with mice, engage in intercourse with dogs. Without Jesus in your cat's heart, your furry companion is a purring time bomb of degenerate chaos. Setting our cats against us is but one part of the multi-pronged strategy of our enemies in their war to ferment anarchy and eventually destroy America.
Well, they're right. This is my plan. This is my plan. This is exact. They've got it completely right. I feel exposed. I feel as though I got some splaining to do. But they're right. Yeah, this is what. This was the secret plan. Not secret anymore, I guess, but this was it.
Whiskey Renegade, I'm working on the calendars. We're getting closer. I think
Wait,
we're
I thought
pretty
they were
close.
done.
Well, no, they're not, because I was working with Patrick on the design, and so I was talking with him about that today, and then I have to find a place to print them, and then they will be ready. So hopefully in the next couple weeks.
I'm gonna do it. Of course.
Okay. The following is a list of 6 lessons you can illustrate to your cat the live evolution. One for every day of God's creation. All right, are you ready? Theory versus fact. Proponents of evolution like to talk about it as if it were the gospel truth, when actually evolution is just a theory. And what is the definition of a theory? Theory means a thing about which you don't have enough evidence to be sure if it's even true or not. Creationism, on the other hand, is a fact, as stated by the Bible. Those evolutionists would be willing to choose theory over fact. That shows just how wrong-headed they are. So that's number 1. Number 2, creationism is patriotic. Did you know that not one of our founding fathers believed in evolution? Even Benjamin Franklin, who was a great inventor and reported to be one of the most brilliant minds of his age, believed in creationism. Darwin, on the other hand, was from England, America's sworn enemy from our very inception. Undoubtedly, his work was part of some greater scheme of revenge hatched by the British monarchy, one that we are now finally witnessing come to fruition. 3, a balanced viewpoint. Everyone knows that one of the special talents God has bestowed upon cats is their extraordinary sense of balance. Cats can twist and turn in midair so that they always land on their feet, and they have the ability to parachute their bodies to slow their descent. This way, if a cat falls from the window of a tall building, they are much more likely to survive. Evolutionists claim this to be proof of cats adapting over time, without realizing how foolishly they are undermining their own arguments. They are always so excited to talk about how evolutionary changes take millions of years to occur, but in this case, that's impossible since mankind has only started constructing tall buildings in the last few centuries. Sure. A cat of a different color. One of the first things your cat might wonder is that if evolution isn't real, then how is it that we are able to selectively mate cats to produce new breeds? Good question. Isn't that a form of evolution? The answer is complicated, but no. There are in fact 2 kinds of evolution. Small evolution, which we can see in the world around us, and big evolution, which is a myth spread by cowards who wish to destroy America. The Bible states that God created each animal according to its kind. This means that it is entirely possible for 2 cats to mate and produce a new kind of cat. It is, after all, still a cat. Evolutionists, on the other hand, take this many steps farther. They claim that most of our modern animals evolved from monkeys. That somewhere in the past 2 monkeys mated, and a kitten was the result. These are the big evolution These are the big evolutions our enemies claim produced the world as it exists today. Dinosaurs giving birth to bears, sea urchins giving birth to penguins, ducks giving birth to snakes, and other ridiculous scenarios, the very idea of which are an abomination to our Lord. Reframe Genesis from your cat's perspective. Cats are fickle creatures, and it can be difficult to hold their attention during these types of talks. You might be tempted to dangle a piece of string in front of their face to keep their interest while you discuss the issue of God's creation. However, this type of plan can backfire. There is a risk the string might actually distract them from the seriousness of the issue at hand. Instead, try to tell the story of Genesis so that it is more relevant to the life of your cat. Explain to your cat how on the third day God created dry land so that cats could avoid getting wet, and how on the fifth day God created fish and birds so that the cats would have something to eat. This new perspective on creation is sure to keep your cat's interest just as effectively as the world's dangliest piece of string. Cats and fossils. Okay, I think this is the last one. Evolutionists try to claim that the fossil record proves how old something is, and that the deeper we dig, the more basic life forms become. They will tell your cat that because cat fossils are only found in the upper layers of rock, this means that they evolved only recently. However, there is a simple explanation for this that is completely compatible with both the story of creation and of Noah's flood. Cats hate water, so it stands to reason that when it started raining during the flood, cats would seek to escape the rising waters. They probably ran away to higher elevations and then to the tops of trees. In this way, simple life forms that can't run away, like grass and protozoas, would have been the first to drown and therefore be buried in the deepest layers, while all the cats hiding in trees would have been some of the last animals to consume to the floodwaters and become fossilized.
Good logic. Good logic there. Good logic. Now we just need a record.
Oh, go ahead.
Now we just need a record of a worldwide flood, and we'll have it, right? Proof.
I feel secure knowing that my cat recognizes the lie of evolution. But what about my neighbor's cat?
Oh.
Just because your cat can tell when an evolutionist is lying doesn't mean your job is done. The war against those who would destroy America is a war of fate, and we must train all the cats of America to be soldiers in the army of the Lord. The hour is too late for us to sit idly by and let the felines of our neighbors fall into sin. If you know of a cat among your family or friends that is not being taught the Bible, it is your duty to educate that cat about God's Word. Look for opportunities to speak with the cat privately about evolution. Offering to cat sit, inviting the cat over for play dates, or inviting other cats over for your own cat's birthday party are all excellent opportunities to speak with them about the truth of creation. Another avenue to spread the word of our Lord is to always keep an eye open for cats that might be lost. If you find one, before returning the cat to their owner, keep them for a few days to educate them about creationism. Wow. When you return the cat, the owner should be doubly grateful. Not only have you saved the cat's life, but you saved the cat's soul as well.
Blair, can you please do me a favor? Can you leave one of these brochures behind every time you cat sit? Just don't say anything. Don't mention it. Don't say a word.
That's a good idea. I have to go back. So the third one that I didn't buy, so I bought How to Talk to Your Cat About Evolution, and I bought How to Talk to Your Cat About Gun Safety. The third one was How to Talk to Your Cat About Abstinence. Okay, WizMike, my problem with that is that I don't know if this is copyrighted material. It is copyrighted material. So I would have to contact them and ask them if I could do it, which I can do. Mm-hmm. They're from Texas. They have an email address right here. So maybe I will do that.
Wait.
Make a twist.
So Blair?
Mm.
Now that I know they're from Texas...
Mm-hmm. You're not convinced it's a joke? No.
I'm no longer convinced that this is
a joke.
Humor. I know. But no. The fact that they're from... You I think, misunderestimate what is possible in the state of Texas. There now is a chance that this is a legitimate belief system we're hearing firsthand, people.
No, it's definitely a joke. I bought it at this awesome store called Pegasus Books in Berkeley. So I'm going to have to go back there and buy a million of these now. And you're correct. I'm just going to leave these whenever I cat sit now.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave them behind.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic idea. I love it. That's what I have to do now.
I love fake commercials, but I've never even thought about like the possibility of the fake pamphlet to this level. I'm floored with the genius involved here.
Let's look further at the gun safety one. Okay, so here are the two options of your cat coming across a gun in your home. One, your cat, never having seen or handled a gun before, bats it around like it is just another toy or ball of yarn, possibly discharging it in the process. That's number one. Number two, your cat, whom you have already talked to about how a firearm is a tool and not a toy, and who has received extensive training on the proper handling of the weapon, discovers your firearm and accords it with the respect it is due.
Well, I think the second scenario is the better outcome. Then again, hey, you're not home a lot. You're out and about. Your house, your home, your castle is undefended. You train your cat on the proper way to not only use a weapon, but to target and fire. A little bit of target practice with your cat. Take your cat down to the local firing range and let it unleash a few rounds.
Okay, what age is right to start talking to my cat about gun safety?
Whatever age you happen to be right now, you're old enough to talk to your cat.
The easy answer is that no age is too young to start introducing your cat to the benefits and responsibilities of gun ownership. But realistically, you should wait until at least a week after birth when they begin to open their eyes. At no point in your cat's life will it be more playful and precocious than when it is a little kitten. The obituaries are filled with families who thought that their kitten was too young to play with guns, that they could wait until the cat was just a little bit older to instruct them on proper firearm usage and safety. This assumption is irresponsible and possibly fatal. If anything, the youthfulness of your cat is even more reason to instruct it early about firearms. Never forget, a kitten's curiosity, clumsiness, mischievousness, and lack of experience and problem-solving abilities can be a deadly combination.
So in the back of this, we need a little advertisement for Cats in Heat magazine. It's like cats with firearms.
I'm really curious now if these are they're really starting to sound like real.
No, the giveaway is taking every attempt to make to have the pause.
Yeah. No. I agree.
That's not something that you do if you're taking yourself seriously.
Right. However, what I'm wondering is if they took actual pamphlets and they lifted things from them, added in the cats, and added in the puns.
Absolutely. This is how to prevent your child from becoming an atheist. This is prevent your child gun safety pamphlet. I have no doubt that they've taken the outline of real pamphlets and gone, look at this insanity. Let's just swap out some stuff, add some better. We can do it better, plus we're going to make it about cats. This is going to be brilliant. Yeah, I have no doubt.
Oh my goodness. This is crazy.
It's a fortune.
How to talk to your cat about abstinence. You've talked to your cat about gun safety and evolution, but you still need to have the talk. Birds and bees aren't just flying creatures your cat chases. Your cat needs to know about the dangers of premarital sex, the importance of abstinence, the cat heaven that embraces those that abstain, and the kitty hell that awaits those that live in sin.
So, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, or if this practice still goes on in big cities. But have you ever received the cartoon pamphlets or found them on your car or been handed them walking down the street? You go through and it's some sort of evangelical message through a sort of like through some sort of cartoon. Yep. Yeah.
They used to walk to my they used to go to my college campus, and they would pamphlet all the cars on the campus.
Okay. So I haven't gotten one of these in years, and I kind of wish I'd saved them all. Because they would be...
I did get pamphleted by a Jehovah's Witness recently. That was fun. I was at an event at the Bay Model, which is like, it's run by the Army Corps of Engineers, but it's like a science center, right? And this guy walks up, and he's in like a suit and tie, and he's like walking around like he owns the place. And so I thought he was actually like an executive or like a manager there, like that he was somebody important. And he's like talking to me about it, and he's talking about it, are this and we're that and all this kind of stuff. And so I thought he was like, and then as the conversation went on, I started to think that maybe he was from a newspaper. And then right at the end, he asks me for my name. I tell him, shakes my hand, and he's like, well, you know, if you want to know more, here's a neat pamphlet. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then as he walks away, I look at it, and I'm like, just a huge, on the front was just a huge cross with like the sun behind it and a shadow. And it's like, Jehovah's way is the only way, or something like that. I'm like, whoops.
So, what if we did this pamphlet, but did the same sort of thing? Took out cats, and took out the stock message, but created a series of pamphlets protecting yourself against evangelicals. Protect how to teach your kid how to protect your kids from creationism. Yeah. How to protect your kids from original sin. How how to explain to your children the religious bias against certain individuals in society. But then I guess we'd be, no, then we'd just be doing this, but that'd be kind of fun.
This is my favorite one. Just lie the Bibles out on Genesis.
Osmosis.
We will absorb some of God's wisdom in the process.
Mm-hmm. And we might urinate on the Bible. So is that possibility? They might find those pages just needable enough.
All right.
Okay. Blair, Minions.
Mm-hmm.
Fun night. I gotta go. Put myself in traction. Oh
God.
I've got like.
You have the sciatica.
I think that's what it is, because
That's what I had last year.
It's not a muscle. It's not. My muscles are fine. I can still do back bends and everything. It's not a disc.
Don't do that.
No, it's fine. I can totally do it. Back bends are fine. It's this weird like angle of like when I stand up, I'm gonna be like a hunchback for like I gotta walk around for like 10 minutes before I can stand up straight again. It's this weird. I don't know what it is. I've got electrotherapy going. I got some pharmaceuticals. I got some other stuff working. I've got every angle I'm trying to attack this thing at.
Are you mixing pharmaceuticals and alcohol?
Of course.
That's dangerous.
That's how you're actually supposed to.
No.
Yeah, the doctor would recommend it because that's what the doctor does. Every doctor I know is like, yeah, I Vicodin and whiskey. That's how I get through the night. But they're not going to tell their patients that because there's liability involved. But every doctor's taking Vicodin and whiskey every night.
When my back got hurt and when my neck got hurt, muscle relaxers were just like the nectar of God.
So I haven't been doing drugs. I've been doing some rehabilitation stuff really. I've been mostly working that angle. Physical workout stuff, stretching type things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I still need a proper chiropractic visit. A couple adjustments, staying off.
Yeah, I just went to a physical therapist and she just like manipulated my spine and then gave me specific things to do, and I wasn't very good about doing them. And then I came back and I said that I wasn't very good about doing them, and then she manipulated my spine again. And it took like a couple months, but I got fixed.
Right. So I know there's people who have had back problems for like, I've known them for years, and they've had back problems for years, and they're like, oh, you gotta go to my chiropractor. I got the best chiropractor out there. I'm like,
see, I'm
screw
not
that.
super into chiropractors. I prefer.
Well, no. The thing is, I don't want somebody with back problems to recommend me a chiropractor.
Right.
I want somebody who's like, oh, no, I had back problems years ago. I went to this chiropractor. I don't have back problems anymore. That's what I want to see.
So chiropractic medicine is kind of similar to acupuncture in some ways. Because chiropractic medicine is different from physical therapy. So chiropractic medicine is like somebody just like, they're manipulating your back, they're messing with your back, and they're doing it in a way that they're expecting to heal you. But really what people don't want to hear is that you have to go to a physical therapist, they have to feel what's going on in your back, and then they tell you how to heal yourself.
Yeah. Although most physical therapists that I've encountered weren't really that helpful, other than telling me how to get out of bed without using my back, how to lift things without using my back.
Yeah,
Just
you
basically
need a
stop
physical
using your
therapist.
back. Your back is now destroyed for life. Just don't use it anymore. Yoga. When I could do yoga, I got a 2-year-old now. I haven't done yoga in 2 years. This is what happened. Before I started doing yoga years and years ago, bad back. Did a whole lot of the Bikram yoga. Good back. Strong back. No problems with my back. Couple years of picking up a 25-pound bowling ball of a child and no yoga, bad back again. It's just, I need to...
2? No.
She's 2.5. She's almost 3 now, I think. It's getting there. No, it's not quite there. It's 2.5.
What?
2.5, yeah. Ish. Yeah. Almost 2.5.
Holy. For real?
Yes. They continue to age month after
I
month.
remember when...
Bigger and taller, and now she's got more
Remember
words.
she missed TWIS because she was born. That didn't seem like that long ago.
That was over 2 years ago, yes.
Jeez.
You've been with the show longer than I think you have been.
Yeah. I keep telling people I'm new, and then they're like, oh, how long have you been on the show? And I'm like, oh, 3.5 years. And they go, that's longer than
That's
many
a long-
podcasts have existed.
That's
And I'm like,
beyond.
well, okay.
You know what? You know what I'd be interested. You know what? That brings up something really interesting.
What?
I wonder how many podcasts with original hosts, at least one member, doesn't have to be 2, one member original, still exist. I mean, time frame wise.
What are you saying that? Oh, you're talking about like how 99%
I'm talking about we've
of
been
species are extinct.
podcasting for 10 years.
So you're saying I'm now going to draw an allegory to 99% of all species that ever existed are extinct. So 1% have made it through.
That might be us. That
Yeah.
might be us. We could
The
be
1%.
that 1%. We could be one of the. I mean, we're definitely one of the. But we might even be the longest running podcast with at least one original core member in the history of podcasting.
Be interesting to see.
I would like this. Yeah, there's a way to break this down. You might be like, oh no, there's dozens. Okay. How many of them are doing science? We're the only one. Yes, we would. How many of them have multiple members? We might just win by that category.
I started January 2012. The very first show of 2012. So nice.
Yeah. You've been. That was, I think,
3.5 years ago.
Or 3 years ago. I'm bad with numbers.
3.5 years ago. Yeah, wild stuff. Wild stuff.
Wild times we're having. Wild fun. Wild times. Wild fun.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
I'm
Say
gonna
good night, Blair.
go. Good night, Blair. How do I stop it?
I don't know if we can. I think we're
I don't
stuck on
think we
here.
can stop it.
I don't think we can.
I don't see a stop broadcast
I
button.
think this broadcast keeps going until Kiki wakes up tomorrow morning and is like, this is still on. So stay up for it, because some point tomorrow morning you're gonna see a disheveled Kiki or maybe a Marshall
Here,
who
I'm
walks
gonna
around the
text
house
her.
naked. So I have a button. I don't know if it works though.
Oh, try it.
All right. Count me down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.